Hello and welcome to another episode of You Skipped That, the show where we introduce each other to movies that the other one hasn't seen.
That was a solid intro.
Believe it or not, folks at home, totally off the cuff there. Yeah, we'll work on an intro.
Improv.
I'm Dan Clark.
I'm Alex Grace.
And like I said, we've been friends for years. Found that we had gaps in our movie knowledge. Both seen a lot of movies, but kind of had gaps from, movies that I liked that he hadn't seen, vice versa. And so we introduce each other to movies. And this week, we're doing a lesser-known movie. Not a real critical darling either. It's got a great cast on it, though.
It does.
It's the 2006 movie Lucky Number Slevin.
Yeah.
With Josh Hartnett and Lucy Liu and Bruce Willis, Stanley Tucci, Ben Kingsley, Morgan Freeman, Robert Forster's in there for a little bit. It's just got a loaded cast.
Yeah, it's a who's who of people you know.
Yeah, and I've seen this movie several times. I like it. We'll get more to. I have feelings about the movie, but what did you think?
It was a roller coaster for me because about the first 5-10 minutes, I'm like, wow, this is a lot darker than I think I signed up for.
Yeah, we usually don't talk during the movie. We save our feelings for the end. After that opening sequence, I was like, I stopped and said, I promise the whole movie isn't like this.
That's the only reason I really brought it up. Like, I was thinking it, but then you called attention to it, and I was like, yeah, I think we need to talk about that.
Yeah. Lots of real bad stuff happens to people that you pretty quickly don't want bad stuff to happen to.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And some of it's implied, which is a big spoiler, but
yeah,
there's some implied bad stuff that doesn't actually happen.
Right. It is a bit of a roller coaster of a movie, but go on.
But yeah, the end result was I enjoyed it.
It's a good movie.
It was a good, solid movie.
It's not a great movie.
It's not a great movie. No, it was a fun movie.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way of putting it. We talked in a previous episode about Lady Hawk being quite possibly one of the most 80s movies we'd seen. This was quite possibly one of the most early 2000s movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is that. And just like with Lady Hawk, it feels like there is a great movie here.
Oh, definitely.
They just didn't quite do it.
Right.
I liked it, but it could have been better.
Agreed.
The thing about this movie, and it's something that you might come across in the future, is I've seen this movie 4 or 5 times. I saw it in the theater. I was one of 3 people, and I paid for one of the other people's tickets.
Wow.
And I remember liking it. And then it came out on video, and I was like, my dad will like this. And I watched it, and I went, that wasn't quite the party that I remembered it being. And then I saw that it was released on, I don't know if it's Vudu or Fandango at home. It hadn't been for a while. And then it was, and I went, I should watch this with my wife. It's just a fun old movie. And I watched it, but that wasn't as fun as I remembered it. And then we were starting this podcast. I went, you know what we should watch? The regular party that is Lucky Number Slevin. And we were sitting there watching it and went, that wasn't quite as fun as I remembered it. So I just forget all of the really dark stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember Morgan Freeman talking about the schmoo. And I remember Ben Kingsley talking about someone calls you a horse the first time, you call him a liar. If he calls you a horse the second time, you tell him to go, jump off a cliff. Tell him the third time, maybe you should buy a saddle.
Yes.
I remember all of that stuff. This stuff's this is just a weird movie.
It's a very weird movie. And it's one of those weird movies where it feels like the writer had 4 or 5 quotes they wanted to shoehorn in there.
Yeah.
And dadgummit, they did it.
Yeah.
They just squeezed those suckers right in there.
The writer, and I think the writer was also the director, I think he produced it as well. And you can kind of tell that it is a passion project where he was maybe just not quite as clever as he thought he was. There are some of those lines, or some of those lines of dialogue, some of the exchanges rather, that it feels like he's like, man, I am the most witty guy out here. Especially stuff between Slevin and Lindsay, played by Lucy Liu, the only woman with a name in the movie.
Right.
There's also the mother at the beginning, but she has 2 lines and then she's gone. But a lot of those conversations...
very, very quick.
Very quick, very repetitive. Yeah. Almost Seinfeldian.
There was a little bit of a Seinfeld vibe. Seinfeldian is not a word I expected to ever hear, but
there you go.
I like it.
But a lot of that, so Nick wasn't here when you got here? Nick wasn't here when I got here. So what you're telling me is Nick wasn't here when you got here. He wasn't here when I got here. I was expecting...
What is the deal with Nick?
Don't know what to tell you, Jerry. Some of it works, some of it doesn't.
Yeah, when it worked, I was very entertained. When it didn't, I was like, oh, come on, please stop.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a couple points in the movie where I was like, I can't believe I recommended this thing to...
It's okay.
And now I got to talk about it.
I showed you Lady Hawk, and that was a high-risk one, because there are parts of that movie that are not great.
No.
But getting back to the movie at hand, obviously, pretty much anytime Morgan Freeman or Ben Kingsley was on screen, I was entertained.
I want to say I don't know what Ben Kingsley was doing.
I don't either.
I don't know what that voice is. I've seen him in other stuff. I've heard him talk. He doesn't sound like that.
To be fair, this is not the first movie I've seen with Ben Kingsley where I have no idea what he was doing. And it probably won't be the last.
I mean, he makes some interesting choices. He does something really, really weird here, but it works.
Yeah.
The sets in this are really weird.
They're the sets are what really sets this off as a 2000s thing for me. Like, it all looks like... I mean, I've told you before, I went to a photography convention in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Years ago.
In the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. Well, mid to late 2000s.
About the time this movie was coming out.
About the time this movie was coming
2006,
out. Everything in Vegas looked like that at that time.
Right.
Like, it was just this really shiny, weird aesthetic. Like, weird geometric shapes and everything.
I can't think of how I would really accurately describe it. The walls in this movie are just weird.
They're very weird.
And that's something that my dad pointed out when I rented it, back when you could just go out and rent movies.
Oh, those were the days.
Those were the day I was working at Movie Gallery at that time. Yeah. So I got this one for free. We got partway through it, and my dad went, "Hey, what's up with the walls?" I'm like, well, Dad, it's a mystery. You're supposed to be focusing on other stuff, but... You know what? I don't know.
One of the mysteries is what's up with the walls.
One that never gets answered.
It does not.
That's just the interior decorator's decision for that building. Yeah.
The set designer really swung for the fences, and
they had a vision.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Yeah,
it is.
It's got us talking,
right? And the core mystery of this movie is actually pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's about a guy, and we're not going to go. I don't like spoiling movies where the spoiler is the point of the movie,
right?
So we're not going to talk about how it all ties together. But it is about a guy played by Josh Hartnett, a guy by the name of Slevin Kalevra, which is a name that has forever stuck with me.
Yeah,
despite the fact that I'd never heard either of those, but
despite the fact that it sounds like the name of a Star Wars character that you only find out the name when you see the action figure hanging on the peg.
Yeah, or
it's like, oh, Slevin Kalevra. Okay, that's what that guy's name is.
Or a medication. Ask your doctor about Slevin Kalevra. But he goes to visit a friend of his named Nick, who is gone, as you could tell from our Seinfeld bit just a little bit ago. But Nick owes a lot of money to 2 prominent local gangsters, and Slevin cannot prove who he is, spends a lot of the first act in a bath towel. So if mid-2000s Josh Hartnett in a towel is your thing, then this movie, that's not going to steer you wrong.
There you go.
They push him into doing favors and all that, and he just gets... It's a case of mistaken identity is what most of the movie is.
Which Lucy Liu kind of points out is not a real thing. It's just a thing that happens in movies.
Yeah. Another thing where I was like, the writer really thought they were clever by... Now, this only happens in the movies.
One place I do think the writer was kind of clever was giving themselves the out of Slevin having a condition that made him a little too bold.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of...
it's only mentioned once.
Right.
It's someone, I think it's Lindsay says, "You're really taking this well." I was like, yeah, I don't really feel like danger or like excited emotions, really. So
it's a great way to allow your protagonist to be mid-early 2000s mouthy.
Yeah.
Without people going, what?
People don't talk like that.
What is this guy thinking?
Yeah. Being too cool for the room. But yeah, the mystery of like what happened to Nick and what is going on with Bruce Willis's character, Mr. Good Cat.
Odd name.
Yeah. I did like the line at the end of, "My name is Good Cat. You can call me Mr. Good Cat." Like, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'll do that one. That's fine. But yeah, he keeps showing up in weird places, and there's the mystery of what's going on with him. And it feels like we're not being told everything, and it turns out we're not. In terms of the two gangsters, the boss and the rabbi, so called because he's a rabbi, which is a joke that gets repeated
multiple times,
too many times. It's a fun little.
The first time it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
The second time it's kind of amusing. The third time it's like, guys, you've done this.
Yep. And by the sixth time, I mean, Stanley Tucci's in there as well as a detective that's trying to figure out what's going on,
and kind of criminally underused in this. I love Stanley Tucci.
Yeah, anytime Stanley Tucci's in anything, he's probably being criminally underused. Cause,
do I have a treat for you at some point? I have a treat for
you.
It's just
at some point. He's good people. It seems like he did everything I've seen him in. I like him in, and I wish he was in more things and more of the things that he's in. So, but he plays the detective that knows that there's something going on here, and he's not going to stop until he figures it out, using some questionable police methods.
Yeah, like police in movies are wont to do.
Yeah, and they explain that away when Slevin at one point goes, "Is this the standard operating procedure for something like this?" And they say, "We don't really have a standard operating procedure for stuff like this."
Right.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
I suppose, when the rule book goes out the window, why not just start punching people in the stomach?
Yeah.
I did like the gag of Slevin being in a bath towel for most of it, where he didn't have a moment to just put on pants.
He almost didn't have a moment to put on shoes after he got out of the towel.
Yeah.
I was like, that's going to play into things later, and then it turns out he did put on shoes.
Yeah.
But maybe I was just trained to expect that from Bruce Willis movies of the past.
Right. But yeah, it's weird to say as a married guy who is straight, but I was a little bit disappointed when he was able to get dressed. I was like, this is just a good, solid gag. Like, it'd be amazing if he just got through the entire movie and he's like, "Will someone let me put on pants? I don't even need a shirt.
Right.
Just pants."
It is funny because, there's a solid 10-15 minutes of the movie where he's running around in a towel.
His first
10
to 15 minutes.
Yeah, it is. It's very amusing. Yeah, that was unexpected and hilarious.
Yeah. And I guess where that came from was the director, who also wrote it, as I said, roomed with Josh Hartnett for a little bit, and he used to always walk around the apartment wearing nothing but a towel.
That's funny.
And so when he was writing a movie with Josh Hartnett in mind, he was like, well, of course.
He's going to be running around in just a towel for a significant portion of it. That's funny. That's some good backstory.
Yeah. Yeah, did a little research before we did this. So.
Wow.
Yeah. How about that?
It's almost like we're becoming professionals.
Almost, yeah. I looked up the year that it came out. I have the cast pulled up on my phone so I could remember.
And one interesting anecdote.
And I read the trivia on IMDb.
Man.
Peek behind the curtain here.
Man, we're getting there, folks. We're getting there. So one thing I do want to talk about, and it's mostly because it popped up towards the end of the movie. What was up with that fake mustache they put on Bruce Willis and all the flashback scenes? That is...
And like a mullet, too.
And a mullet, yeah. But like a receding mullet.
Yep.
It has Bruce Willis's... Honestly, worse than Bruce Willis's 2000's hairline. Combined with this big, bushy Tom Selleck, but not nearly as nice mustache.
Right. They just needed something so you could tell, oh, this must be the past.
Yeah, it's the John Mulaney bit. And then he was wearing glasses to show that time had passed.
Yes. Yeah. It was a choice.
It was a choice. I remember the first time they panned over to him in a flashback. I couldn't help but laugh.
You laughed, yeah.
I did.
This is not supposed to be a funny part of the movie.
No, it's not. It's a very serious scene. But yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah, I mean, they could, just the mullet would have been fine, I think.
Right. Yeah, or even, the 70s suit with the sunglasses.
Yeah. I guess 70s or 80s would have been about when it took place.
Yeah.
The flashbacks did. But
I think they said it was 1979.
Might have, yeah.
I don't know why that stuck with me, but here we are.
Yeah, kind of an interesting setup with Morgan Freeman and Ben Kingsley playing two crime bosses that used to be friends. And this is not spoiling anything. This is right in the first 15, 20 minutes when you're introduced to these characters. They used to be friends. They had a falling out, and now they are so scared of each other that they will not leave their penthouses. Later on, Ben Kingsley says it's been 20 years since I've been in a car due to the natural fear of high-powered rifles and quiet rooftops in New Jersey.
Yes, that was a good line.
Yeah.
I liked that line.
Delivered with, I wouldn't even dare try to imitate the rabbi voice. Not that it would be racially insensitive, just I couldn't do it. It's just such a weird...
Though there are insensitive things in this movie that we're probably not going to talk about at all, but we'll just put that in there. It's an early 2000s movie. People were okay with saying some things.
We'll just say, for the people, if you're thinking about watching this, and I think more people should.
Yeah. It's
violent, extremely violent at times.
Less than I expect. I don't know why. I was expecting a big blowout action movie.
Yeah. It really is more of kind of a mystery, wrong guy kind of thing. There is a character who is homosexual, who is given a nickname that...
Basically a slur.
It's a slur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is exclusively what this poor gentleman is called the entire movie.
No, he does have a name.
He does, but I think it's used twice.
Yitzhak,
yeah. But yeah, that was a choice.
Yeah, so that is something that you're getting into if you're watching it.
But it comes up only in part of the movie.
And really, the fact that the character is gay is important to the plot.
Right.
That is how certain
events
transpire. And he's not a very effeminate...
Yeah, it's not like a caricature or anything.
Yeah, and really...
In fact, he just kind of seems like a regular guy, which I think was a good choice.
Right. Which really, he's not a major part of the movie, he's just an important part of the movie.
In fact, I think he has 3 lines.
Something like that. But I had forgotten him from the last time I watched the movie. And that's the thing about this movie, is the last time I watched it was 6 months ago. So... It leaves your memory that quickly, but when they said, oh yeah, you got to take out...
insert name.
The insert word, I was like, God, I don't remember. That sounds like this is going to be real insensitive. Is this something I'm going to feel really bad about showing my friend? Are we going to have get halfway through this scene and be like, you know what? It's early enough. We could pick another movie. But no, he's just kind of a guy. They play up the fact that he is of the Jewish faith far more. He's got an emergency alert necklace that's a Star of David.
Yeah, that was in the realm of comically on the nose, I think. Yeah.
As well as the two guys that come to pick Slevin up. One has the curls and one's wearing the yarmulke. They don't skimp, and it feels like that was supposed to be part of the comedy. And it is, I laughed when he opened the door and there's a guy with the side curls and a yarmulke, and it's oh, who are these guys with?
Right.
Avon calling? No, it's...
There is that brief moment where it almost feels like the movie's going, you know who these guys work for, right?
Really what it feels more like is the movie going... This is the kind of movie that we are. Where it's let's just have the most stereotypical looking Jewish henchmen that we can think
Working
of
for the rabbi.
show up, and the guy's name is a rabbi, but it's not that kind of a movie.
Yeah.
It feels like it veers towards comedy and then goes, no, but we're like a hard-boiled mystery. And then, they call him the rabbi. Why is he called the rabbi? Because he's a rabbi. Like, oh, that's kind of funny. No, we're a very serious movie.
Yes. Yeah, that actually is kind of a good point. Like, that to me is kind of what's going on with this movie, is it doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
When it grows up.
Yeah, I think this is the kind of movie I've seen on various social medias, the meme of like, don't remake good movies. Remake bad or fine movies and make them great. Mm-hmm. Why would you redo something like Ben-Hur that was remade years ago when that's already a classic movie? Remake Lucky Number Slevin and figure out what kind of movie you want to make it.
Yeah.
I would absolutely, if they remade this movie, it's 18 years old now.
Yeah, wow.
It's a little, God, I can't believe that's,
old enough to vote.
Yeah. This movie's an adult now. It has grown up.
It has. Debatable.
It's grown old, but not up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little soon for a remake, but if in 15, 20 years they went, hey, we're remaking this movie that no one remembers, it's called Lucky Number Slevin, I'd be like, can I get a ticket opening day? Because I want to see
what somebody redoes with it.
Yeah, how they do this. I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
This did not do great at the box office, I don't think. Like I said, 3 people, I think, saw it, and I bought 2 of the tickets.
That is kind of funny.
It made back its money.
Well, there you go.
Not by leaps and bounds, but a $27 million budget, $56.3 million at the box office. So it did all
shabby.
right. Yeah,
not too shabby.
My interesting backstory with this: I was dating a girl in college. We were both in college.
I love how that took like several steps to get to the end result there, but
yeah. I realized I was dating a girl in college. I
was too.
Yeah, it was not a creepy.
It was a normal thing to do at the time.
I was 2000s. I was 20 when this came out. Yeah, I was still in college, and I had been begging her. I wanted to go see V for Vendetta, another fine movie.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't, I don't think it would make the list for this.
I've seen it.
Yeah. But she kept going, I don't know if I want to see that. I don't know if I want to see that. I don't know if I want to see that. And I helped her move something, or I did some big favor for her. Like I went to a dance with her that I didn't want to go to. And she said the next day, you know what? I appreciate you doing that. Let's go see V for Vendetta. And it was showing nowhere.
No.
Nowhere.
Tragic.
But this wasn't like, I guess this looks interesting. She's like, if you want to go see that, that's what we'll go see. And we went and saw it. I was like, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That makes me, I love those movies where it's like, I'm the only one that saw this, it feels like.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm the only one that remembers this. We kind of talked about that with Lady Hawk, those kind of fever dream movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does anyone else remember Lucky Number Slevin, where, Ben Kingsley and Morgan Freeman are these big gangsters and Josh Hartnett.
Bruce Willis is there.
Yeah. Occasionally with a mustache.
Yes.
You guys remember Lucy Liu? I don't think she's done any. I haven't heard anything about Lucy Liu in a while. I know she was doing that Sherlock.
She was, and that was actually really good.
Was it?
Yeah, I like that.
There were like 5 Sherlock Holmes things that came out around that time, and I was like, I don't know. I caught the Guy Ritchie movies, and it's about my fill. Yeah, it's another one of those fever dream movies of, like, when I went and looked for it on Vudu and it wasn't there, I'm like, this movie does exist, right?
Ow.
Like, I gotta look this up on IMDb. Yeah, there it is on IMDb.
Yeah, and as more episodes of this podcast come out, you're gonna see that is the bread and butter of Alex's list on the podcast, is movies that I wasn't sure existed outside of my house for a long time. Yeah,
and then you go to some like used DVD store and you see it just sitting there. Mm-hmm. It's not even a rare one. It's like a $4 DVD that you can pick. You're like, oh my God, there it is.
They do exist. Wow, that's a deep cut reference. A reference to a Christmas M&M's commercial.
That's not a real deep cut. I'm pretty sure they still pull that one out every
they
year.
do.
Yeah,
they play it every year.
Yeah. That and the...
Oscar-winning J.K. Simmons.
Yep.
As the yellow M&M.
That and the chicken noodle soup. Campbell's.
Oh, yeah, the snowman. Yep.
And those were the days.
This was another trademark. Weird, you skip that aside.
And now we can say that neither of us, have skipped the early 90s Campbell's soup Christmas commercial.
Yeah.
Here we go. What were we talking about? All right.
Lucky
Number Slevin. It does feel a little bit towards the end like it's getting a little too twisty for its own good.
A little bit, although everything that kind of falls into place makes sense.
I was thinking, as spoiler-free as I can, the thing at the end with Lucy Liu.
Uh-huh.
I was like, that doesn't add or subtract anything.
You could have taken that out and nothing would have really changed.
Yeah, it was just in there because it's like, oh, here's a character that we haven't thoroughly tied up just yet.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's a small cast, and
it is.
Everyone has
an ending.
If it's a character that you know the name of, they have a definitive ending.
Yeah. Like they have an exit from the movie.
Yeah.
That you're not just left going, man, what happened to that guy?
I mean, even like all of the henchmen that you see, you know exactly what happened to them.
Right.
Like they make sure that they go, oh yeah, that car, someone shot the driver and the passenger, and let's cut directly through the windshield so you can see
it's those two guys that you remember from earlier. Yeah.
So I'd heard that Josh Hartnett wanted to do a sequel to this. I'm like, ooh,
with what?
Like, there's no one else here.
For what?
You salted the earth. There's nothing else grows here. And I guess they do stuff like that now. Like, there's exactly one recurring character in all of the Knives Out movies.
Yep.
You don't need all those recurring characters. We talked a couple episodes ago about Bullet Trains. Like, all we need is Brad Pitt to come back, and that could be another...
maybe surprise person who shows up at the end of the movie.
I'm sorry if that spoils Bullet Train, but Brad Pitt makes it to the end.
Right.
That's all I'll say about it. Anyways, I guess I would have seen a sequel. I would have liked to have seen what they did with this, especially with any criticisms on the tone of it that were made. If they would have done something with that,
right?
Or if the director would have gone, nope, this is my vision. This is what these movies are like. His name is Paul McGuigan. I feel like I've seen stuff with him. He directed an episode of Sherlock. We were just talking about Sherlock.
Hey, there you go.
Push. No, I guess I haven't really seen anything else with him. He did Victor Frankenstein. Another weird fever dream of a movie that will not be on this, but it is kind of interesting, I guess. With James McAvoy playing Victor Frankenstein and Daniel Radcliffe playing Igor. That was a weird one.
That does sound interesting.
But yeah, he hasn't really done much. He's got, 3, 6... 7, 8 movies on his filmography here. It's not even a selected filmography, just a filmography. He's still alive, but he hasn't done a movie since 2017. Film stars don't die in Liverpool, which I've never heard of. So he hasn't really gone on to do huge things. I would have liked to have seen what he could have done.
Right, yeah, because like you said, there are elements here that show a lot of promise.
He's got a style.
Yeah.
He just needs to figure out how to rein in his style.
Yeah. Overall, I enjoyed it. Like, I know we've kind of harped on some things that were wrong with it, but it was fun. The couple of the twists took me by surprise.
And if you ever watch it again, and I don't know if it's a movie that you're ever going to watch again.
I would put it in a solid maybe.
There are things... It's a weird one to rewatch with someone who doesn't know what's going on. Because
it's so obvious.
There are parts where it's very obvious, and you go, "Oh yeah, of course." You see the guy with the gun, and then that's how he holds the gun later, and all of that receding hairline is definitely Bruce Willis, and all of that. So I worried that you were going to figure it all out right away. Like, oh, well, obviously this guy was here and this guy did this and he did this and that's why she's here. And
I will say it's not like it's a very complex mystery. Like, once you know what all the pieces are, it's like, okay, I know this all goes together. I'm just not sure what the end... It's like having a puzzle where you don't have the picture on the outside of the box. You can tell it all goes together. You don't know exactly what you're going to see when you're done. I was just surprised by some of the details in the picture when it was done.
Yeah. Overall, a solid movie.
Yeah. I'd give it, if we were doing a letter grade system, I'd say it's a B- movie.
Again, we don't talk about the movie much between the time we see it and the time we come into the very next room and discuss it on here. But at the end, when you're watching a movie on Vudu, which is what I do all my streaming through.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, but...
But hey, call us.
Yeah, if you want to.
I think you call yourselves Fandango at Home now.
Fandango at Home, yeah.
So Fandango at Home.
Fandango at Home, I can promise if you sponsor us, I will get your name right a solid 70% of the time.
That's generous. But you know what? If you want to make those checks out to Alex Grace, that would be awesome.
I promise you, I can guarantee you, if you sponsor us, I will volunteer Alex to get your name tattooed across his forehead so that I, looking across the table, will not get it wrong. I'll bump that up to a solid 75-80% accuracy.
How about we meet in the middle? Instead of tattooing it on my forehead, I just agree to wear an apron while we record the podcast that just says Fandango at Home across it.
I don't like the tattoo idea better.
I don't like needles, man. I can't do it.
It'll be your forehead. You don't have to look at it.
It's not the looking at that bothers me.
Well, I don't like needles either, so, you know.
I mean, I once got bit by a brown recluse, and they brought in the antivenom shot, and I had to think about it for a minute. Then they showed me pictures of what happens to brown recluse bite victims, and I went, shot, give me the shot.
Why haven't you done it yet? But at the end of the movie, when you get to the very end, after the credits and everything, it says, what would you rate this movie? 1 to 5 stars. And I had it down as like a 3.5.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that we don't tend to discuss it beforehand, you went, yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah.
We can agree on that.
Yeah.
We're going to get to a movie that we don't agree on eventually.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be a 3-hour-long podcast.
It will be.
For now, I think we have said all there is to say about Lucky Number Slevin.
Yeah, I think so.
And now, finally, you can say that you have not skipped that.
I have not skipped it.
You didn't even know that you were skipping it until we were making the list up.
I really didn't. Yeah, I barely knew this movie existed.
Yeah, there you go. It gets a solid... I'd say it gets a solid half thumbs up from both of us.
Yeah, I would say, like, if you're on a streaming service and you happen to come across this movie and it's included in your subscription, and you have nothing better to do on a Sunday afternoon, I mean, sure, go ahead.
As my dad would say, it is mildly diverting.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have a thought that actually came up as we were making this podcast.
Okay.
You talked about bad or okay movies they could remake.
Okay.
I have one I would like to see.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to know, other than this, what is another bad or okay movie that you would like to see?
Something that I have wanted, and I promise, like, I have this ready to go. You did not mention this to me beforehand.
No, not at all.
This question just came right at me. I have wanted, and I've said this for years, I want to see a remake of The Room. With really, really good direction and really, really good actors, but the same script.
Oh my gosh, that actually would be really entertaining.
I want to see what happens when you have, like, Helen Mirren on there having to go, got the test results back, I definitely have cancer. How does she sell that line?
Yeah.
How does a director make that hit when it's never mentioned again in the entire movie?
Tom Hiddleston turns around and goes, "Oh, hi, Mark." Man, that would be an interesting watch.
Yeah.
Just like one of the most famously
bad movies.
Yeah.
That's one that you haven't seen. I don't know that
I've just heard the stories and seen
I don't
the
know
clips.
that we'll do that one on here.
That might be like a special or something. Or a clip.
There are other truly bad movies that I'd like to pull out.
Put on the list.
I feel like we got to do Cats at some point, which is my favorite bad movie.
Man.
Because there's not a frame of that. The thing with The Room is you could pause it and it looks like
a normal movie.
There are parts of it that look, I mean, low budget, but fine.
Yeah.
There's no frame of Cats that you can pause on and it looks like a normal movie.
That's funny.
Dancing It's On is another horrible movie in the best ways. That
I'm going to have to see these.
Yeah, we might have to have my wife on for that one.
Yeah.
My wife, Megan, loves bad movies.
And she is a bad movie enthusiast.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my vote, is something like The Room done with competent people. You know, The Room, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Tom Hiddleston and Helen Mirren and
amazing
Meryl Streep. Throw her in there somewhere.
Meryl Streep, because reasons.
Yeah. Have Meryl Streep play... I don't know, she's got the range, you know.
She does.
Yeah. Have her play Mark.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
You were clearly getting at something when you asked this question.
Yes.
I have taken us away from it.
This is one that may make its way onto the list.
Okay.
But I would love to see I don't know if you've seen this movie. You probably haven't, because Lord knows I hadn't until my dad was like, hey, you need to watch this movie.
Uh-huh.
Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins.
Never heard of it.
Spoiler alert, the adventure does not continue. This movie is full of baffling choices. It is a fairly interesting story with pretty entertaining characters. Again, there's some 70s or 80s choices that would not fly today. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it is a very entertaining movie.
Yeah.
That includes Wilford Brimley.
Did he have the walrus mustache at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he basically sounds like he's doing the diabetes commercial.
I was trying to figure out how to talk about him without talking about diabetes.
Yeah.
I can make fun of diabetes. I have it.
There you go.
I'm allowed. You're not.
I'm not. No,
yeah.
I'm not allowed. I'm not going to make fun of Wilford Brimley saying it funny.
Yeah, it's fine.
But, you know,
I guess. I'll allow it.
Cool.
I'll allow it.
But it is just a truly baffling movie that I would love to see remade. And apparently it's based on a series of books. I've never gotten around to reading them. Yeah, that's just a very interesting concept.
Okay. Maybe at some point I will have not skipped that.
There you go. All right.
Anyways, how'd you like to let everyone know where they can find us on the socials?
Oh, it's actually pretty easy. On Instagram, Threads, X, Twitter, whatever you're going to call it. I'm going to call it Twitter. I'm sorry, Elon. Right. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We're just at You Skipped That. All one word, spelled out.
Yep.
Facebook, search You Skipped That.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to find us.
Yeah.
And then on YouTube, you can also find us. You Skipped That.
Cool. And don't we have a TikTok now?
We do have a TikTok. That's also in the Instagram, Twitter, Threads category of You Skipped That, all one word.
Yeah.
At You Skipped That.
I got on TikTok the other day and it was like, you might want to follow You Skipped That. I'm like, but that's me. I am half of that.
That's true.
How was I not aware?
How that got suggested to you, I don't know, unless it just knows that you're the other half of that somehow.
I don't know. But that's the deal for this week.
All the social medias.
We'll be back next week with another skipped classic. Next week will be your week, and we'll see what we think.
Indeed. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you around.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.